want ours?
Rabbi Barris is celebrating his mother's birthday at the U.S. Open this weekend.
At where?
U.S. Open. Oh,
Oh, U.S. Open.
Mother playing.
Good one. Am I on here? That's red. I want to say. Anita, you okay in the back over there?
What, tennis?
Okay.
Oh, you.
Just checking.
It is. It's like what they paint drawing.
All right. Shabbat Shalom, Boker Tov. Putting myself together here.
What parsha are we on?
Kitavo. So welcome for this Shabbat morning, this Shabbat of Labor Day weekend. Labor Day, a chance originally to give those workers, those unionized folks, a day off. So naturally, we do consider it a Jewish holiday. Correct, Norman? Since the Jews are so involved in the labor movement, we consider, I always thought Labor Day was somewhat Jewish. I guess from those early ideas. I'm not kidding. I guess a kid, it just felt Jewish to me. In the old days, if we weren't down here in Florida, Labor Day was the official end of summer. Well, not the official, but the semi-official. And now it sort of feels like mid-fall since school starts so much earlier. So for this Shabbat morning, we join in our Shabbat prayer of Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. La'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. La'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. B'nei Yisrael Oti leolam, oti leolam, veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz ve'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash Shavat vayinafash, Shavat vayinafash, Veshamru v'nei Yisrael. Good morning. Et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Borei pari hagafen. Chaim? a fresh bottle.
On 4th of July.
If you were here last night or you watched online, we had Jewish royalty in the house. One of the three tenors, one of the Jewish three tenors, called the Jewish Pavarotti, Alberto Mizrahi, Chazan Alberto Mizrahi, who was here this morning for the bar mitzvah and came last night, and he did a yismachu with Cantor Koyo. It was really, really something. So if you can find that, I mean, that's an unusual occurrence to have that happen. So awesome, right? I thought Chicago, but I could be wrong. Sherry looked up Chicago.
Yes, it's on the website. He's from Chicago.
Where is he now? I don't know where he is now.
Chicago, which is in Lakeview, right?
I was thinking when it finished that I've never heard a Yismehu like that, and probably I will never hear again a Yismehu like that.
Right. Now, he was touring. I remember for years he would tour with two other chazans. So you're familiar with that, right, Ed? And you could hear him. So I highly suggest it if we can. Okay, so let's see. We sang, yes, Bob.
We don't use the microphones. We shut off the people that are on streaming.
So if you're not using the microphones when we speak, the people who are streaming, Shabbat Shalom, Boker Tov, everybody, cannot hear us. Thank you for that reminder. I know we sometimes, even during services, if we're doing a responsive reading and if the second person on the bima doesn't speak into the microphone as a response, everybody who's streaming gets only half the prayer. So that is correct. So this morning, we are getting close to the end of Deuteronomy. Did you see the moon last couple of nights? The full moon of Elul is a beautiful full moon. For rabbis, it's sort of like makes our stomach turn or tighten up because it means 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. So that was a beautiful moon last night as well. So it also means that we're getting to the end of the Torah. We're in Deuteronomy, the last book, Moses' third discourse before the end of the Torah. And it is Parashat Ki Tavo. Ki Tavo. It's pretty big. The part we're going to be beginning on is page 1528. But let's set this up. 69, and then we're going to jump to the next. Yeah, it's the last verse in chapter 28, and then we're going to turn to page. We're going to read a verse on 1528 and then go to 1537. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you, my friend. The blessing before our study of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. You're like a fourth grader, Eileen. If I miss something with fourth grade, they remind us. So, no, that's a positive. That's very positive to be like a fourth or fifth grader here. All right, so here's our setup of where we are in Parashat Ki Tavo. Ki, when, because, really, in this instance, when you come into the land of Israel. So Moses is preparing for the end. The Israelites are almost crossing over into the land of Israel, and he is reminding them mostly of Torah stuff. And here, when you cross into the land of Israel, remember to offer some of your first fruits in a basket to the Levites. You're going to offer, but you're not only going to offer your first fruits and lift up this basket, you're going to tell a story. So you're going to tell the story of my father was a wandering Aramean. Rashi would say that it doesn't just mean that, it means in a hostile environment. We are telling the story. So when you first come to the land of Israel, look what we have, and then we're sharing the story to the next generation. So coming to the land of Israel also means a continuity with the past. You can't just come into a new place and forget where you came from. That's why you have the offerings. Just in case you haven't really been paying attention, Moses says. Remember in Leviticus where half of you were on Gerizim and half of you were on Mount Ebal, and you called out a list of curses and blessings, and the priest in the middle would answer Amen, and basically all the blessings you will receive in the land when you do the right stuff. And the curses, the worst of all, they're like Jeremiah curses. You'll be eating the flesh of your own children, really, really gross. And all these horrible things of you'll have no rest. Your whole internal and external life will be like a brittle leaf, just cracking. There's nothing left of you. So the blessings and the curses. And then we get to the ending section of where we're going to focus on a very little bit, and where we're really a setup to the next portion, to Nitzavim. Nitzavim we read next week, and we read it on Yom Kippur, which is really another covenant. So over this theme of coming into the new land, get the blessings, don't be cursed. You're telling the story. There's this idea that you need a new covenant, not new covenant in terms of a Christian covenant, but like a renewed covenant. Because of all those things that happened and because of what we're going to read a little bit today, you weren't paying attention, it didn't move you. Now, in Nitzavim, we're going to call you all here again together. So, I have a bunch of texts, which I don't think we're going to do all of them, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see where we get going. So So if you look at the first page of the sheet I gave you, I say Deuteronomy 28:6-9. In some editions, it's 29:1. Remember, we're doing the third triennial. This is the beginning of the third triennial according to some accounts. This is why I always teach you it ain't necessarily so, because things are looked at differently. And we're going to look at the setup to the verses we're really focusing on, or for the one verse. In addition to this setup, another layer of thought I want floating around, milling around there in your brain is that this Shabbat we are focusing on recovery from addiction, and we're also going to see how this verse maybe play into that, the back of your sheet, because it is National Recovery Month and the first Jewish National Recovery Shabbat. I offered some insights into recovery, so we are fully connected with our Shabbat theme. So Deuteronomy 28, verse 69. Who's reading first?
Starts over there.
These are the terms of the covenant which Adonai commanded Moses to conclude with the Israelites in the land of Moab, in addition to the covenant which was made with them at Horeb.
Okay, basically, I told you this once, now I'm telling you again. This is what you need to do. All right, good. Switch now to page 1537.
What verse?
1. We're going to read verses 1, 2, and 3. And that's all we're going to read.
In what?
Deuteronomy, now we're in chapter 29. We finished chapter 28, ends with verse 69 in most editions. We're going to start at 29:1, reading verses 1, 2, and 3. I also have them on your text sheet.
1, 2, and 3.
These are the terms of the covenant.
Oh, are you reading 29? Are you reading? See, we already have that. We already have that example. 20.
Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, "You have seen all that Adonai did before your very eyes in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh and to all his courtiers and to his whole country, the wondrous feats that you saw with your own eyes, those prodigious signs and marvels. Yet to this day Adonai has not given you a mind to understand, or eyes to see, or ears to hear.
Good. Stop right there. Did everybody hear that? Yeah. All right.
Sounds like 3 blind mice.
Right. You had no understanding. You didn't see. You didn't hear. Basically, what the heck's the matter with you? That's what a lot of the rabbis say, and that's what we're really going to get to. But we're going to understand and discuss why Moses is saying, "What the heck's the matter with you?" Before he dies. So that's sort of the hint. So let's look. Ela Divrei Habrit, the end of 28, starting 29. We've heard Moses. Let's see. V'lo natan Adonai lechem lev lada'at, ve'enayim lerot, ve'oznayim lishmoa, ad hayom hazeh. Or, v'lo natan Adonai lechem lev lada'at, ve'enayim lerot, ve'oznayim lishmoa, ad hayom hazeh. So one's a question, one's a statement. We'll see what it means. Rashi. Let's see. Ed, you're going to read the Rashi. We're on page 1, where it says, Rashi.
All right. Yet the Lord hath not given you a heart to know, i.e., to understand the loving kindness of the omnipresent and to cleave unto him.
Okay, so the rabbis are all discussing this question. What does it mean that you don't have a heart, you don't have eyes, you don't have ears? Well, of course you do. What does that mean? I discussed this last night in the idea of recovery, that the Jewish community did not have an understanding of God's abundant love for everybody, including those suffering from addiction. That was last night's idea. That's not this morning's idea, but it is an idea that that I also wanted to share. So Rashi is saying this means they didn't understand the loving kindness of the omnipresent. Why might Rashi say that? What would bring Rashi to that idea? And whoever's going to speak is going to need the microphone. Contextually, why would Rashi say, again, maybe with a different reason, but you guys are missing something? Have they done anything in the past 40 years to let Rashi to think that you're missing the boat here? Oh, wait, you need a microphone. Hang on, let me borrow this.
They weren't acting in accord with the commandments. They weren't following them.
Okay, right. So they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. But Rashi's talking about God's love also, right? They didn't understand God's love. The kind of love which is like, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love Adonai with all your heart. And how do we show love to God? Right? This love is reciprocal. You don't understand God's love for you, and therefore you are not loving God by commandments or doing what's right. Good.
Well, they repeat this word heart over and over again, and I think they consider that to be the very center of your being, where all comes together, and that is how you love the Lord your God, through your heart. And I believe that that's the symbolism in the words that are used here.
Okay, so thank you. So when we love God with our heart, also the heart is sort of the center of understanding. The mind and heart is not so separated, right? It's kind of the center. Thank you. Let's see. Ibn Ezra, what is he going to say? But the Lord hath not given you a heart to know. Let's see if he's any different. Who's reading? Where's the microphone, Annabella? Thank you.
Scriptures reads a heart to know because they tested God 10 times and did not make mention of the signs which they witnessed. Okay, so again, so this is a really big idea for this verse.
they didn't seem, the heart, again, as a place of knowing, not just as a place of feeling. They never mentioned, they never talked about all of those things that they witnessed. They never talked about what they witnessed in Egypt, what they witnessed in the wilderness. They never talked about, they were totally detached now. They're about to enter the land of Israel. And the reason why we're starting when you get to the land of Israel, remember to tell the story and to offer up fruits is because you're not supposed to be detached. You're not detached from that story. That story means something important. That story means that you are connected to God. All right, questions, ideas, comments. Oh, wow. Okay, go ahead.
Well, it also seems to mean that because we didn't test God, God tested us. And we didn't trust God with the spies that went into the land at the golden calf. Every opportunity we had to trust God, we didn't trust God.
Okay, so Bobby's turning it around a little bit, that God tested us, and we failed those tests by showing a lack of faith, right? Or, so Moses was delayed. Instead of that being the test, instead of showing more faith, what did the Israelites do? They built the calf. And maybe there was no water, so instead of having faith that they'd find water, they complained and they complained and they complained. And so that was really God testing the Israelites rather than the Israelites being ungrateful. Okay. Pass the microphone behind you to Eileen and Victor. Thank you.
Okay. This notion of staying connected to the past and telling the story and appreciating and showing that you understand by telling and talking about, and that they didn't do that, that notion is more obviously connected to Passover for me. So how does that notion connect to this season of getting us ourselves ready?
Okay, so two different things are happening here. We are in the cycle of Torah that goes week to week. It doesn't line up exactly necessarily to the seasons, right? We read the Passover story at Pesach, and we read it in its time when we read the Torah. We are reading this here, it echoes back. We echo back to Yetziat Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt, all through the Torah, well, from Exodus on. That's not always in sequence. We are at the time of preparing for the High Holy Days. Next, we're going to read Nitzavim next week, and we're going to read it on Yom Kippur because it's lifted up and assigned to Yom Kippur for us coming together again as a people. All that being said, I'm going to hand the question back to you. We are, and it is known that we read these portions towards the end of the year, because it always happens that way, a little forward, a little back. They always come in, right? So the last 3 weeks, it's getting close to the end of the year. So, Eileen, what might be the connection? Maybe you want to look at, instead of the beginning of the Torah portion, which is my father was a wandering Aramean, tell the story, maybe these verses have the connection. The ending of the Torah portion, the ones on the page, maybe. Eileen's question is, how is Kitabo, how is what we're studying now a part of or influencing, or maybe the lessons resonating with our preparations before the High Holy Days? Yes, is that the question?
So maybe in looking inward at ourselves and what needs to be repaired, you have to acknowledge the past.
Beautiful. That's perfect for the recovery and atonement ideas. In order to move forward, right, we do a personal inventory. We have to acknowledge the past.
And really, that's not easy to do, but to defeat the enemy, you have to know the enemy.
Okay? So, all right, so we have to know what needs to be done in order to move forward. Thank you. So there, look, you answered your own question. You don't need me. Victor.
I was thinking in terms of maybe this question that is posing that you haven't seen, you haven't gotten the heart to see and the eyes to see and the ears to hear, talking about the future. Not really what already passed, but that they're up for a treat when they come in the land of Israel. They're really going to know what it's all about. They just haven't seen it yet.
Wow. Ad Tayoma said, you haven't yet seen everything you're going to see. So get ready, folks. You don't have the heart yet. Today is the day, right before you enter the land in Israel. Today is the day you're going to have eyes that really see, a heart that really understands, ears that really hear because you're going into the land of Israel. Awesome. Other comments? I'm going to pass it back. Thanks.
What jumps out at me for Deuteronomy 29:3 is the linking of mind, eyes, and ears. In order to understand the world, you have to experience the world. It's not just enough to read. You have to see, you have to hear. And this becomes an important concept in modern theater and in film, because there are compelling ways of understanding the world, because you not only read as in a book, you see and you hear. So that's what jumps out at me in this Torah portion. How do you understand world? How do you understand mind of other people, of the society? It's through your eyes and your ears.
Okay, so thank you. How do you understand what has happened? And as Victor said, are you ready? Today you're going to be ready to understand what's going to happen.
No, I'm not, to answer your question.
Sure we are.
But for me, these ending Torah portions and the beginning Torah portions of next year are supremely logical. We have come through all of the tumult of the Torah and the stories and the lessons, and like a white noise, it has totally consumed us each week to week to week to week to week. And we're preparing ourselves to start this journey again. And I think, like a good teacher, you go back to basics. And we are being reminded here that it's time to shake off and to, as best you can, leave behind. My grandmother used to say, what was. Let go of those lessons that we have learned in this last year. At least don't allow them to consume you day to day. How do we start again new? Open your mind, open your eyes, open your ears, and begin afresh the importance and the learning and the necessary understanding of the teachings that are about to come your way.
Okay, thank you. Richard has a different take than Eileen. Eileen says you're not really going to be able to understand forward unless you understand where you are today. Richard makes me stretch that metaphor of learning and starting a new year. You know that the idea of doing, you may have forgotten because looking around, most of us don't have young children at home, but it is typical today that kids have summer work. They have homework over the summer, and it's real stuff. It's reading. They have a packet of math. They have a packet of they have to read 1,300 books. They have to do calculus. They have to do all this stuff in the summer. Why? So when September comes, you have to spend the first 6 weeks going backwards. That doesn't really, maybe it helps. You can move forwards. So Deuteronomy is like that summer reading. Deuteronomy is the summer reading. We're reviewing everything before the new school year begins. Now, the new school year is going to have the same exact stuff. We're going to have some science, God willing. We're going to have math. We're going to have language, right? We're going to have civics, God willing. We're going to show some kinds of social studies, right? So the topics are all the same. What's in them is different. Same way we're going to look at the Torah. We're going to have Genesis. The same characters are there as they were last year. Same numbers are there as they were last year in math. but we may see some different insights from them. We're going to read Exodus again. Going to be the same 10 plagues, but the way maybe we understand them a little differently the next year. So that was a fun metaphor. Thanks. Other ideas? Okay. So we're really getting into these just really 29:3. Sforno, of course, moving to Italy now. He also has something to say, V'lo natan Adonai lechem lev l'dat. God hasn't given you a heart to understand. Whose turn is it to read?
It's mine.
Okay.
According to Sforno, even though he had tried by means of his teachings and his miracles to give the people a knowing heart, as we know from Exodus, and in order that you will tell and be aware that I am the Lord, the lesson had not taken hold due to your overwhelming quarrelsomeness.
Okay. Let's read the Exodus. I include the Exodus part. Sherry, grab the mic and read the Exodus. We're going to go back to...
Then Adonai said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his courtiers, in order that I may display these signs among them, that you may recount in the hearing of your child and of your child's child how I made a mockery of the Egyptians and how I displayed my signs among them, in order that you may know that I am Adonai."
Okay, so Sforno uses those Exodus in order that you will tell. And what's the problem? This lesson of Exodus had not taken hold due to what? The oversome, quarrelsome. Your nature. You haven't learned the lessons because of your nature. The nature which Bobby says is a test from God, which they failed, or just the nature that they started with, which they haven't yet refined, maybe from slavery or just being stiff-necked just because. I don't know. So, okay, Sforno's like, you guys have not gotten it yet. And so who's he? He had tried by means of his teachings, and his miracles, God, right, to give the people a knowing heart. God tried something, and they didn't get it. Wouldn't you think that God would be able to, zap it in there? God did all these things, and they still didn't get it. Problem is, not only God was trying, but that was really Moses' job as well. Eileen, you want to say something? Alex, I'm going to take this mic, and I'm going to then pass it back to you.
Well, just 2 words in response to why he didn't zap it in there. Free will.
Oh, thank you.
That's it.
Right. So, exactly. So there's free will, so God had to give the lessons.
Paul Simon wrote a song called The Afterlife, and one of the lyrics in The Afterlife is, "It seems to be our fate to suffer and wait for the knowledge we seek." And what I hear in the remarks this morning is, I think that we don't get this message because we're not intended to get the message, because if we get the message, and if you have achieved and accomplished the learning that we're required to get, in the success, kind of like familiarity breeds contempt.
That's one of the texts.
In the success, I think that we would grow bored, and I think that the lesson is that you can't ever get the answer, and the purpose is to perpetuate and continue the struggle.
So a girl who's based on YOLO and FOMO, you only live once and fear of missing out, have trouble with we are meant to struggle. Of course, our tradition does teach that we can't really get to the point of understanding and gratitude unless we didn't have that. And so the 40 years are that lesson of lack before we get into the land of Israel of abundance. And that dissonance or the distance between one and the other is where we get gratitude. And that may always be the human condition. That's part of our thinking. I like to believe that we may not need the suffering to reach up above the human condition, but I haven't been proven right since, so.
Just in response to Richard, what I heard was then, it's about the journey, not the destination. Is that what you
We do think sometimes life is about we're not sure about the destination. This part of the Torah has a specific destination, a physical destination, where we have to get ready to live a certain way in that place, in the land of Israel. So this has a special destination. When you get into this special place, you must be reminded it's not your doing, you are a part of it, but you have to show your gratitude, and you have to be understanding that you've made this journey and now you are here. So, yeah, it's all of those things. Yes, Alex.
If the land of Israel is the special destination, and none of the people who experienced the eye-opening witnessing of Revelation, the Exodus, whatever it might be, from the highest beacon, Moses, to all the population that had to suffer in the wandering because there needed to be a new generation to enter the land of Israel. It seems like what Richard was saying, which is forget the past, we need to move forward, because all the people who experienced the past aren't getting the fruits of the destination. And thinking about it that way, and then bring it to our modern day and what's going on in Israel now, frankly, I think it's concerning to me. Is it the destination, or is it the journey of learning? I like what you said earlier as far as it should be the journey of continually learning. That's the nature of our people. That's what we like to think about ourselves, and that where Torah and knowledge and all of that is great, and it's the journey. But it can't be a physical destination. I don't like that notion.
Okay. We'll whisper that Alex basically questions his Zionist roots. We won't say that out loud.
I just don't think that can be the answer that allows the eye-opening to be the physical destination.
Okay, so let's figure this out. So we're going to go back in time, and we're going to talk about today, and we're going to see if it matches up at all. Richard goes back. Richard and Paul Simon talk about the fate of suffering before we could really see and understand. And it's true that when we've experienced something, our compassion for others grow. The Torah talks about we're getting to the land of Israel. This is what's promised to the Israelites. This is a special land. It is holy in itself, as we understand. The land itself is described as holy, and that is a destination. Are you saying, Alex, that if that's the destination, then a destination, because it has an ending point, it's not really fulfilling what we're supposed to do? Or partly, okay, because if there's a destination and it stops there, somebody else brought that up, then what are we doing there? Then we're living with Torah. And when we live with Torah, we become all of those wonderful things which we're supposed to become, a light into the nations, creating justice, bringing all the world to the understanding of justice and an understanding to God. That's supposed to happen in the land of Israel. And so today, many people will say instant messaging counts. That's a joke. He got it, though. The creation of instant messaging in Israel today counts as bringing justice and all those good things to the entire world. That was a good joke. You got it, right? You knew where I was going. Now, look at my watch before I go. Part 2, where Alex is uneasy. Say it again. Where's the uneasiness?
You have Moses, who has had full revelation, understanding, comprehension, following the rules, has the full faith in God, right? Notwithstanding his initial indiscretion of hitting the rock,
okay,
for which he doesn't get to go into Israel. Right? But if part of the process is we have to suffer. There has to be a suffering to be able to enlighten others and reach our own enlightenment. He's not getting the destination. And if Moses, who's the beacon, can't get the destination but still is righteous, educating, learning all the others, I don't feel comfortable with the notion that the destination is a physical location, but rather the process of constantly learning, teaching, educating, etc. might be the keeping your ears open, being appreciative and thankful, all great components. But it can't, for me,
Okay.
it cannot be a physical destination that we seek.
Okay, so Moses had a physical destination, right? His job was to bring the Israelites into the land of Israel. He wasn't getting there. He wasn't getting there because he made this mistake. And so his frustration is what we're looking at today. Even Moses couldn't get the people into the land of Israel. They're still not getting it. If even Moses still is not able to teach these people, they still don't get it, that certainly is a metaphor for how, not even a metaphor, an understanding of they didn't get it, they saw these miracles, what about us? Are we getting it, or are we constantly learning and growing? And that's the destination. Okay, good. Bobby.
I think that God has brought Moses, Moses has brought the people to a fork in the road. One path takes them to God's commandments and to a destination. The other is free will, and may not take you there.
Well, the path they're supposed to go on is to the land of Israel and commandments. They, as we say, and especially also this is one of the recovery ideas, you may be getting in your own way, right? So we may be getting in our own way. That is, a stiff-necked people certainly get in their own way. All right, we looked at the Exodus piece. We're on page 2, Rabbeinu Bachya. We're now, and ears to listen until this day. Whose turn is it reading? Victor, is it are we going through this way? Yeah.
Rabbeinu Bachya. And ears to listen until this day. This message is that a student does not truly appreciate the opinions and knowledge of his teacher until he reaches the age of 40.
Good for us.
This is why the sages in Avot 5:21 characterize the attainment of the 40th birthday as a time when one is granted
Bina,
a measure of insight.
Okay, so Moses is really trying until this day. What does it really mean? There's only so much a person could get until they're ready to hear it. Eileen, read the Pirkei Avot so we know what's the context.
He used to say, at 5 years of age, the study of Scripture. At 10, the study of Mishnah. At 13, subject to the commandments. At 15, the study of Talmud. At 18, the bridal canopy. At 20, for pursuit of livelihood. At 30, the peak of strength. At 40, wisdom. At 50, able to give counsel. At 60, old age. At 70, fullness of years. At 80, the age of strength. At 90, a bent body. At 100, as good as dead and gone completely out of the world. Okay, I don't agree.
You know, Eileen's practice of medicine, I'll give out the hint, contains the idea that our bodies are able or created to live to 120. So if you want to stay alive, you should go to visit Dr. Eileen Higgins. That we really can get there. So that's why she's saying 100. Nope, she believes we can even go further. So we see that there is all stages of life. There is learning, But maybe until this day, maybe this verse simply means, you know what, there's a certain time you're going to get something, and a certain time you're just not ready to get it. Maybe you haven't had the experiences. Maybe you're just not, you're not capable. You know, that's what he's saying. You have to certainly have experienced some part of life and preparation, right? It didn't say you just get to 40 and suddenly, poof, you have insight. No. You've already studied Tanakh, and you've already studied the Mishnah, you've already studied Talmud, you've already started to work. You've been in a relationship, committed relationship. All of these things you've experienced, and then you're going to maybe grasp some understanding. Ganya, let's pass the microphone to you. I got it. You're welcome.
Hi. I'm sure you all have this experience that I have, that every time that I read Torah, study Torah, I see something else. I learn something different. I've read the same passage 10 times, and each time I come away with a new understanding, a new or deeper, whatever message. I think that what I'm getting from all of this is that you never get it. It's not like you reach a point where you get God and His message. You keep on getting further and further into it. But what it requires to do that is what they talked about at the beginning: an open heart, an open mind, open ears, and open eyes. You have to be present in the moment and come at it with this intentionality, if you want to. And at different points of your life, experiences, learning, if you come at it with that, then you get a little bit more, another bit of getting it and getting God into your life. So it takes those elements to always have it, and it grows and it changes. It's not like you finally get to the end, to the promised land, and then the story ends.
Right? That's what Alex was saying. The story does not end there.
At this point, that's in the Torah, that's all that they can see in front of their noses. But we've been to the promised land, and we know that it
We've been to the mountaintops and we've seen it.
And we know that it still needs work. We still need to be with a mind, a heart, ears, and eyes open, and continue to get it and work on it and put it back and be in partnership with God.
Okay. Thank you. We're going back to Alfred's full experience, which Genya elaborated on a little bit.
This is becoming very Buddhist. The Buddhists have an expression: the branch from a fallen tree never enters the same river twice. Because the river has changed.
Right. I think that we are also going to just that's also an idea going back to not only recovery, but Elul and the new year. Are we going to be in the same river, or are we going to create some difference? Oh, we have more Simon and Garfunkel.
So my question is, if a Jewish guy is alone in the forest and speaks, is he still wrong?
It was a joke. If a Jewish guy is alone and in the forest and he speaks, is he still wrong?
Depends on who he's arguing with.
Yeah. As my husband says, what does he say? Do you want to be right or do you want to be married? Okay. So that's what he says to himself. I wish. Okay. So. So the Israelites are getting to Israel. We have now lifted up we have transcended this discussion to this ever-going journey of experience and understanding God's world, right? It's not just We are also want to experience and understand ourselves, but we're supposed to understand ourselves in a communal, also in a communal way, right? We are addressing the community here, not just ourselves. Sometimes we get stuck when we study Torah, that it's really all about us. No, it's about community, but we're also talking about ourselves. Okay, let's go to Abravanel and his problem. Who's reading? Whose turn is it? Great. Thank you. Right. Yep. We're at the foot of page 2. It's a little complicated, so go slowly.
Okay. This verse would indicate that the rebelliousness which had characterized them to this day was ultimately prompted by the Almighty.
Which is what you said.
But his was not so. All is in the hands of heavens, save he fear of heaven, or save the fear of heaven.
It's probably my typing, so do what you can with it.
Okay, cool. Though admittedly, God is the prime cause of all things. Free voice is given to man to know the Lord and obey him. Indeed, Holy Writ explicitly points out, unto thee it was shown, that thou mightest know that the Lord, he is God. There is not else beside him out of the heaven. He made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he made thee to see his great fire, and thou didst hear his words. How then could Moses say that the Lord hath not given you a heart to know and eyes to see?
Okay, so that my terrible typing, which I thought I corrected, which clearly I didn't, the idea is, really, Moses? You're asking that question? You know that God gave everybody all of these things. And God tested everybody, and God's the prime mover, God's the creator of all. God gave free choice. Why would you ask such a question, Moses? Turn the page, or because Abravanel gives his own and answers his own problem.
Moses removed them for their rebelliousness, in that their eyes had seen the miracles and wonders, but thy hand not heeded them, though they had been fully capable of appreciating. They had not done so. This is the purport of the utterance, ye have seen all that the Lord did. They perceived what miracles had been performed in connection with both great and small in Egypt, for the firstborn of Pharaoh. The miracles of the parting of the sea, the war of Amalek, and the giving of the law. By this Moses wished to indicate that every opportunity had been given the Israelites in the form of tangible miracles to ground them firmly in their faith. But this experience had been of no avail. They had failed to learn the lesson of these signs and wonders. That is the meaning of the phrase, that the Lord hath not given you the heart to know. It has rather the force of a rhetorical question. Did not the Almighty provide you with a heart, eyes, and ears capable of evaluating these phenomena? You were given the natural potentialities for appreciating them and should have learned the appropriate lesson.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm living at a time of my life where I understand this saying that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And the Lord gave me great things for much of my life. And those great things are diminishing.
Okay. So, thank you. So there is the great things that we have that physically might be diminished, except according to Eileen, they don't have to be, or as much. Okay, I'm going to let Annabella speak on the problem. Go ahead. Use the microphone.
Bob, you are aware now of the things that you had and they're being diminished, but you didn't know that when you were 30. Has anybody read the same book twice? Did you notice that you saw different things and felt different things when you were doing it the second time or even the third time? Excuse me. I think that Santayana said that those who do not learn from the past are bound to repeat it. The problem is our memory also fades, so we may not remember it. We may want to, but we don't. It comes with a certain age. We all walk every day without wonder, but when we see a grandchild taking the first steps, it's like a new world has just begun all over, and we remember it all over again. The miracles are in front of our eyes. We may not always see them. That doesn't mean they don't exist. Something that you are not aware of doesn't mean that what you're not seeing or not understanding doesn't exist right there before your eyes. You need a certain experience to understand it, to get it. And this comes with time.
Thank you. So Abravanel is still answering. They had all these opportunities, but the natural potentialities they missed. And so Moses keeps questioning them about this. How did you miss this? How did you miss all of these things? And how come you didn't listen to me? And I've been the one dragging you through this wilderness, even though there's been people growing up. Remember, not everybody died out in the wilderness. Those under 20, right? They stayed. We're reading the Moshe Chefez. Ganya's reading Moshe Chefez. Oh, wait, did you read yet? No. Okay.
The verse implies that the one who is
Vouchsafed.
what?
Vouchsafed. It's a weird word, but yes, it exists.
Vouchsafed a miracle is the last to appreciate the fact.
You experience the miracle, that's what it means.
Okay. Right, when you're in the middle of it, you don't think of it as a miracle. We do not appreciate them until they are far away from us, since familiarity breeds contempt, and they are regarded as natural and not supernatural phenomena. This was what Moses meant. You witness all those great wonders, but only appreciated their full significance just now, at this time, after they had receded from view, as if you had heretofore laid sight and hearing.
Okay.
Wow, yes, perspective.
So, it seems as if what we have been reviewing is that we have we've experienced something, we're about to experience something great, and hello, Moses is saying, Ad hayom hazeh, until this day, you have not really gotten it. Shape up, you're supposed to get it. It wasn't for nothing that God did all of these things. You are supposed to get it. You're supposed to get it because that's the way we do better things in life. That's the way we observe commandments. If we don't get it, if we don't get this connection to what happened in the past, we don't get the connection to the miracles, we don't see them, we don't understand, we're not able really to move forward. This has been the ideas, more or less, of everything we've seen so far. Moses is really frustrated, and in this rhetorical question, he says, everything's been done for you, I've done everything, and yet you still don't get it. You still haven't appreciated it. You're still not ready. Your heart's not in it. You don't see, you don't hear. You have the faculties, but you're not there. The last text looks at it differently. The last text says, you know what? What they didn't get was they thought a lot of these divine things were coming from Moses. And Moses, according to the rabbis, dies the same day of giving these different addresses. It's really one long one to the people. And they don't get it until they see Moses. It's Moses' last day. So the rabbi, another spelling, Meir Simcha of Dvinsk, who's, Carol, would you like to read? Thank you. The last text on page 3.
The children of Israel had often made the mistake of attributing divine powers to Moses, whereas he was merely a mortal messenger of God, through whom he communicated on matters of respecting the Jewish people. When were they finally cured of this delusion? on the day that Moses dies. Then they realized he was but mortal like themselves, and all the miracles and wonders were directly derived from the divine will.
Thank you. So for some, it took the death of Moses to really transfer the idea of God. Okay, let's review. Dr. Ben Yunus, in fact, did somebody open the door? The door was locked there. All right, so, Ad Hayom Hazeh, until this day, you didn't have the faculties you needed, or you weren't using them, or you weren't incorporating them, you weren't realizing what happened to you, what lies before you, God's love, until this day, until the day either you're ready to go in the land of Israel, until this day that Moses yelled at you again, Ad Hayom Hazeh, until he died, until maybe you were pushed to understand, maybe the desert, maybe suffering, maybe trouble, whatever Ad Hayom Hazeh, until this day you didn't get it, but now you've gotten it. Before you go into the land of Israel, you must get that there are blessings available to you, there are curses as a rebuke, as a punishment, and there's a future waiting for you, but you really got to open up your heart, your ears, and your eyes to get it. So that is, I think, what we really discuss in these 3 verses. But let's not forget that we're also in the first Jewish Recovery Shabbat. And so if you turn to page 4, in our last minus 2 minutes, I have a recovery resources, a description of what we do, and I have the first 4 steps. Our recovery program at Temple Beth Am is not a 12-step program, but the steps are woven many times into what we discuss. So here are these 4 steps. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol or other addictions, that our lives had become unmanageable. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, or God. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So at this point, 2 weeks before the new year, we are making fearless inventories of ourselves. And in order to bring God into our life, we're going to look again back at the Rashi on 29:3. Where Rashi says, "V'lo natan Adonai lechem lev lada'at," and Rashi interprets that as, your heart did not know the loving kindness of God, and you did not cleave unto God. So with that idea of opening our heart to this connection with God, of doing a fearless inventory of ourselves, we are ready to move, well, we will be ready. We are readying ourselves to move forward into a new year. I offer everybody a Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for being here this morning.
Shabbat Shalom. Very good.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Is it true? Am I correct in saying that?
Wait. Of the Torah. Look at the board here. I'll do it on a piece of paper. The reason why we say that, here, I have a pencil. Here, Carolina, I have it. The reason we do that, we say that, is because the last word of the Torah is Yisrael.
This would be the last?
Yeah, that's an
Is that-
L.
Okay.
The first
Is that a
word,
word or
this
is that?
is Yisrael,
Okay.
Israel.
Okay.
The first word is, I'm writing it, Bereshit,
Okay.
right?
In the beginning.
The ba is the same as the va. So it was the beginning of a syllable or word, it's a B. When it's in the middle, it's a B. So the last word of Torah, we go right to the first word, and we have the lamed and the bet, which in English we say like that, which means heart.
Okay, that's the connection.
That's the connection.
Okay, so that ties in with what we were talking about, heart.
Yeah,
One of the
I guess
last
that's,
things.
yeah, you open your heart, I guess so.
Heart.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. It was great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment that it is the master teacher that pushes the student to answer her own question. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And I shared some of your teachings too.
You did, thank you. No, because what a bummer thing, how many people in here are approaching
Right.
100. And I disagree. I mean, I said what I thought.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. She really believes we can go past 100.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting very close. I hope you're right.
My
Well,
degenerative.
it's the
what am I going to do
physiology.
with my degenerative discs and my scoliosis? How am I going to? Is just losing weight going to help the
It's
degenerative?
going to help a
discs?
lot. It'll help it a lot. And if you do it in a low inflammation way, because then you cut inflammation and then take the mechanical stress off.
I got to do the what is it? I got to do
Wegovy. Yeah. Did you tell your doctor?
it. No.
Are you getting
not yet.
physical therapy?
Oh yeah, I do everything. I actually do the therapy at home now, but it's from the physical therapist.
Good.
Yeah. But that would, if you just do that.
You know, you're really
Get it going before we leave.
okay.
What do we have to do
All right.
to get down inflammation?
Well, my children don't eat dairy or meat. That helps. I've gotten rid of dairy because I had some half and half. I haven't gotten rid of it, but
That's very inflammatory. That's good. Don't
yeah,
eat dairy.
Don't eat dairy. Very little
Cheese
dairy.
is my favorite food, yeah.
If you eat some dairy, there might, like a little. This removing most of it helps, but if you eat some pieces and totally bring everything back.
The way I look at it is the body deals in denominations of molecules. So if you have a quarter teaspoon of something dairy, there's a lot of molecules in there, and it's going to continue the reactions you want to shut down in your body. So we're not perfect.
She wants
obviously.
nothing, is what she's
No,
saying.
but come as close to it as you can.
Come as
I
close
mean,
as
if,
you can.
if you don't and whatever, then you just shake that
So
off.
my
and
yogurt, my Greek fat-free plain yogurt with my
Your
fruit.
fat-free plain yogurt could be bent on for the probiotic effect.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Phew.
That's the only
Okay.
thing.
It may
Yeah.
turn itself around. So.
So on page 53 of our Mishkan Tefillah, my favorite prayer, days pass, mirrors vanish, and we walk sightless through mirrors.
Oh, yeah.
That's in the prayer book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Could have
And
brought
then
that
it
up,
goes
Edith.
on.
Yeah. Nice.
I don't want to steal your thunder,
Okay.
but you're walking well, you've lost a few pounds.
Um,
How do you feel? You don't show it. You're looking really good. You lost at least 10
But I'll take that, and I'm doing my exercises in the core building, and I'm fine. And I'm taking my gabapentin, which is like this one I got my gabapentin.
on.
How's Paul doing? I know everyone keeps asking you that
No,
first
it's,
question.
he's doing okay. He's in the right place.
Good.
He doesn't like being there, and I
Oh,
understand
how,
that.
who would?
It is what it is. It's part of growing. You're on. So my question was to you, if I'm going through these facilities and I see they're gorgeous, and shall I open my mouth and advertise you?
I mean, I've played at different facilities like that before.
Yeah, but there's newer and fancier like you wouldn't believe. You have to be a millionaire to be able to afford them. But the
So to come in and play, to do something, do whatever.
Well, if they have what they call a social activity director, I would need your card with your name and a phone number where they can reach you.
I have it, and I will give it to you. Yes, I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Absolutely. So you guys are in transition, limbo? What's going on?
We're not in transition yet. My husband is not quite on board, but well, you know, I can't. I have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. I don't need that. We live either in the bedroom, in the kitchen, or in the TV room. Why do I need them more? The kids are grown. They're out of the house. They each have bigger houses on their own. They don't need me.
Gotcha.
I have Alex driving me all over the place because since I fainted, he's afraid that I'll faint behind the wheel.
No.
And I must tell you that I'm afraid of it myself because if I faint at home, it's me. If I faint behind the wheel, I don't know how many I'm taking with me, and I don't want that.